All right, guys, because I've had a couple people request it, I'm going to talk about the concept that I like to call the inherent positional dilemma concept. It's a strategy concept. You can apply this concept from any position. Essentially what it is any given position in jiu-jitsu has built-in dilemmas, okay? Things that, it doesn't matter who you are, what rank you are, you can expose these dilemmas and attack them. Now, of course, depending on how skilled you are, will be dependent on how you are receptive to the response and the recovery of it. But these are dilemmas that are in every position. And this can really take a lot of the athleticism out of jiu-jitsu and kind of give you a roadmap on how to deliver your game, your techniques, your favorite style of moves to use off these. And I'll get a little bit down to the specifics of that right now. Okay, so let's talk about some dilemmas, okay? Let's say that we're trying to pass our opponent's guard, right? Well, there's some very simple dilemmas that we can expose right off the bat. The first being the space between their armpit and their hip, okay? This is sometimes referred to as a pass box, right? Because it makes a nice little box here. Okay, well, there's one of these boxes on each side of the body, right? So we can easily play like our inside passing, right, off of these boxes, right? Doesn't really matter what pass you used, right? But if you attack one and he closes it, chances are the other side is open, right? So you can play these two off of each other. Now, where this dilemma gets really interesting is when you start to pass north of the shoulders, right? So when I pass north of the shoulder line, well, now he has to open these boxes, right, to defend me from coming down north-south, right? So I can play this dilemma off of each other very easily, right? It doesn't matter who you are or your skill level, this dilemma is there. Now, how you handle it is completely, subjective to the individual. But understanding that this is a dilemma that you can attack and basically take a lot of the fight out of the pass is something that you're going to want to try to exploit, okay? So this is one, example. And all I'm doing to create these concepts, or to follow this concept, right, is I'm looking for these dilemmas in position. And the way that I look for them is I see what my opponent needs and what I want, right? He needs to block me, right, if I come north-south. He needs to keep tight to block me if I want to get side control, right, and I want to get a good pass, right? I want to get control of him, right? So it's pretty simple. If I can expose him and make him basically overexpose himself, there's a dilemma there. So now let's say I make it to side control, right? Well, once again, it's what does he need versus what do I want? Well, I want limb extension, right? I want these arms to come out so I can get a submission. I want his leg to come up so I can wrap it up, right? I want him to stay tight so I can mount, right? So it boils down to what bad option is he going to choose, right? Is he going to stay tight, right? This is a good way to respond when we're in side control, right? He's being really tight, doesn't want to let me get any limb extension. Well, when he does this, he's making it very easy for me to transition to mount, okay? Now, let's say he wants to respond and frame into me and turn in, right, with a good response. Well, when he does that, he's giving me limb extension and back exposure, which I can expose. If I know it's coming, I can expose it, right? So now he's stuck between these two dilemmas. The concept is they're giving us limb extension and back exposure. How we expose that is up to us, but the concept is this is a dilemma from this position for them. If you know what's going on, there's no right move, right? So what's the other option that they could do? They could turn away, right? So once again, we know what to do from there. It's very simple. We can take their back, right? Or we can chase them up into the turtle position and attack from there. And we'll get down to that dilemma in a moment. But first, let's talk about what happens if we get to the mount. What's our dilemma here? Well, this one's very simple, right? He wants to keep his limbs tight, right? My opponent wants to stay very protected here, find a way to get his elbows in between my legs, right, and start making space. I want to get his arms up. Right? So I could spend all day trying to push his arms and fight from here with bad posture, but what I want to do is expose the dilemma. Well, the dilemma here is very simple. There's two dilemmas. I could take his breath away, or I could put him in pain, or I could do both, right? So one example would be just covering his mouth. What's he going to do? He's going to panic. He's going to reach his arm up. When he does, I can expose, right? Let's just say I mother's milk, right? He's going to reach his arms up. It's going to expose, right? I'm not going to have to fight the limbs, right? There's a dilemma here. He can't both stay here and protect what's going on here at the same time, right? So I put him in a dilemma. So let's say my opponent goes to turtle, right? Well, once again, we have the same box dilemma, right? They have a box that's right here, right? Right between their hip and their armpit, where I can slide in, right? So they want to keep that closed and tight. Well, the moment they keep it closed and tight, they've exposed their neck, right? So I can expose this dilemma all day. I come in here, they want to keep it tight. I expose the neck, they want to reach up and fight the hands. I expose this space, right? Go into all kinds of attacks, whatever I choose, whatever's in my game, right? The point is, these are dilemmas for all people. We can fill in the technique with whatever we like, right? So the way that you build these is simply understand what you want and what they need, right? If you can answer what they need with what you want, then you have the dilemma. I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you guys are ever in Tampa, come down to Gracie West Chase, ask for Coach Chad, and I'll see you on the mats.